The stakes have never been lower in Suits LA, but the show is starting to have fun with its identity and embracing a new direction that feels more fitting. Suits LA has a different style and tone to the original, and this became most apparent in episode 12, the penultimate entry in the season. Despite its proximity to the season, now series, finale, Suits LA isn't hurtling towards some tragedy or dramatic issues, but it has finally made the characters worth following. Ted and Stuart, former business partners with a bitter rivalry, have largely put aside their differences. They both recognize how important they are to each other and support each other in times of need. This puts their competing firms in an odd position, where, despite opposing objectives, the relationships between the higher-ups appear to be incredibly friendly and collaborative. And this episode follows those relationships, while also seeing new friendships form. Ted Black finally shows some actual emotion. Stephen Amell as Ted Black in Suits LA Season 1 Episode 8. One of the central issues with the series up to this point has been the way Ted Black, played by Arrow's Stephen Amell, has been portrayed. The character was positioned to be the protagonist of the show, but despite getting more screen time and backstory than others, he's been one of the least interesting characters on the show. With one note of emotion for most of the run and a generally unlikable demeanor, Ted was not a fun or interesting character. Thankfully, that massively shifts in this episode, with Ted actually opening up and revealing important aspects of his character. Amell was never the issue. He is a talented actor and a solid lead in other shows, but it's been hard to connect with or embrace Ted when he was an angry, prideful, and self-righteous figure. But just in time for Season 1's ending, Ted is making some changes, even if it's too little, too late. Conversely, the rest of the cast of characters are a lot more fleshed out, with their arcs starting to be resolved. Erica Rollins and Rick Dodson have proven to be two of the most interesting characters in the show, and that continues here, with Leah Power and Ted's secretary, Ross Lynn, all making waves in the episode. The drama is irrelevant, but the comedy comes shining through. Brian Greenberg as Rick toasting his glass with Stephen Amell's Ted Black in Suits LA Episode 7. In the latter half of Suits' first and last season, an imposing client, David Bowie, stirred up some trouble for Stuart Lane. Now, this character, who is sparsely in the show, is one of the only driving forces for the drama. This is just as the series is leaning more heavily into a lighter, more comical tone. And while expectations that this spin-off would be predominantly a drama, comedy is proving to be much more fitting for the setting, story, and characters. That is not to say that there isn't any other drama, in terms of romance and friendships, but it isn't comparable to the tone of Suits. Thankfully, as the show continues to lean into this approach, it is delivering a more fun and punchy story. However, the show does need to be more proactive in choosing this direction, rather than pulling the rug out and trying to switch back to a more tense drama at the last minute. While I would have said the finale would decide the fate of this show, NBC has already made that decision by cancelling Suits LA ahead of its final outing. It's too bad, since the comical approach is proving to be incredibly refreshing, fun, and well-suited to the characters. Even the flashbacks in this episode felt like sensible and worthwhile inclusions, whereas previous episodes lost all momentum with the shifting timeline. Suits LA has a chance to end on a high, and at least stick the landing, despite the series ending for good.